What if I told you the US dollar is not powerful because Americans use it? It's powerful because the entire world is forced to use it. And the day that demand weakens even slightly, your life starts getting more expensive in ways most people won't connect to the real cause. Because this isn't just a global finance debate. This is your mortgage rate, your credit card APR, your rent, your grocery bill, your retirement account. The dollar is America's invisible advantage. The reason the US can borrow trillions, run massive deficits, and still have the world line up to buy its debt like it's the safest product on earth. It's the reason, during every crisis, money doesn't run away from America. It runs into America. Now here's the scary part. The world doesn't need to replace the dollar to hurt Americans. It just needs to build alternatives, quietly. One oil deal settled outside the dollar, one trade agreement using local currencies, one payment system that bypasses US rails, one small shift at a time. And when enough of those shifts stack up, the dollar doesn't collapse overnight. It bleeds slowly. And slow bleeding shows up in your monthly payments long before it shows up in the headlines. That's why when you see viral claims like BRICS is creating a currency to dethrone the dollar, it is not something to laugh off. And it is not something to panic about either. The truth is more dangerous and more real. There's a silent global push to reduce dependence on the dollar, and if that trend accelerates, the cost won't be paid by politicians or billionaires first. It will be paid by everyday Americans. Today, let's delve into the BRICS currency versus the US dollar and why Wall Street laughs, and why you still should pay attention. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, as it is the best way to support this channel. BRICS originally stood for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. The idea was simple. These are big emerging economies that don't want a world completely dominated by US institutions. Over time, BRICS expanded and started discussing new member countries. But here's the first myth that goes viral online. BRICS is like NATO or the EU. It isn't. BRICS is not a unified political bloc. It's not one economy. It's not one system. It's a collection of countries that often don't even agree with each other and in some cases are strategically competing against one another. India and China, for example, have major border tensions. They aren't exactly best friends building a shared financial future hand in hand. So when people say BRICS is forming one centralized currency, you should immediately hear the hidden problem. Centralized currency requires centralized trust. And trust is the one thing BRICS does not have in abundance across all members. Most people think the dollar dominates because it's used a lot. That's not even the real reason. The dollar dominates because it's connected to the deepest, most trusted financial machinery on earth. To replace the dollar, you don't just need a new currency, you need to replace US Treasury market dominance, dollar-based global debt markets, trade, financing infrastructure, settlement networks and clearing systems, liquidity during crises, reserve management, reliability, legal enforcement, and property rights. That's why FX traders laugh. Because they know that when real money moves, the kind of money that shapes countries, people don't choose a currency based on headlines. They choose it based on one question. If everything goes wrong tomorrow, where is my money safest? And for decades, the answer has been the US dollar and US treasuries. Not because America is perfect, but because it's the deepest pool. It's like the ocean. Every other market is a lake. If you want to move $1 trillion quickly, you need depth. That's the dollar. The short says, about 90% of foreign exchange transactions involve the US dollar. This is one of those stats that's often misunderstood. It doesn't mean 90% of global trade is in dollars. It means when currencies are exchanged, the dollar is involved in most trades as an intermediate step. Example, if Japan wants to buy something from Brazil, they often don't trade yen directly for reais. They convert yen, dollars, reais. Why? Because the dollar is the most liquid. It's easier, cheaper, faster. So yes, the number matters. And it proves the trader's point. The dollar is embedded in how global finance operates. But it also hides a subtle truth. If countries can reduce their need to use dollars as the middle step, dollar power weakens slowly over time. That's the real battlefield. Not replacing the dollar overnight, but reducing the forced dependency. This line from the transcript is a perfect viral trigger. BRICS is going to back their currency with gold. That sounds powerful because people remember gold as real money. Gold feels permanent. Gold feels safe. Gold feels like a financial weapon. But a gold-backed currency has problems most people don't understand. If your currency is truly backed by gold, it means holders must believe they can redeem that currency for gold at a reliable rate. Now imagine what happens. The moment the world suspects that currency will rise, people will rush to redeem it for gold. That means the issuing bloc must constantly defend the peg. It becomes like maintaining a dam during a flood. Eventually, you either break the peg or lose the gold. Historically, strict gold standards collapse under pressure because they limit flexibility during crisis, and a reserve currency must survive crises. That's why Wall Street laughs, because a gold-backed BRICS currency makes for a viral headline but creates real-world constraints most politicians don't want to live with. The transcript says the US owns twice as much gold as BRICS countries combined, as the speaker implies. Whether the exact multiple is perfectly accurate or not isn't the main issue. The main issue is gold is not just metal. It's trust plus storage, plus verification, plus control. Even if BRICS had more gold, you still run into the political question: who controls it? Where is it stored? Who audits it? Can foreign governments verify it? If there is a crisis, will you allow redemption? If the answer is no, then gold backing becomes symbolic. And symbolic backing doesn't replace trust. This is the most devastating line in the viral short. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping are going to be able to make unanimous economic decisions? That's sarcasm, but it hits a deep truth. A reserve currency is not just a currency. It is a leadership role. The reserve issuer must run stable financial policy, provide liquidity during emergencies, tolerate trade deficits, accept global demand for its debt, act as lender of last resort. That means the issuing power must behave like the world's financial backbone. Even if BRICS created a shared currency, who would carry the burden? China? Then why would India accept that? Russia? Sanctioned? Brazil? Not big enough? South Africa? Not stable enough? A centralized currency requires someone to lead. The US passed the UK as the largest economy in 1916. The dollar didn't become the world reserve currency until 1944, and it took a world war to change it. This is the real mic drop, because reserve currency power is not an election. It is not a vote. It is a global shift in trust, and those shifts happen in slow motion until suddenly they don't. The British pound didn't lose dominance because someone announced a new coin. It lost dominance because Britain was financially exhausted, and the US became the creditor, the industrial engine, and the global security provider. The dollar became dominant because America had huge productive output, military reach, financial depth stability relative to Europe, the architecture of post-war institutions. So yes, the short is correct. Reserve currency status does not flip overnight. And if someone tells you the dollar is being replaced next year, they're selling fear. Now we get to the part most people miss. The short makes viewers feel like, okay, so BRICS is a joke, dollar is king, case closed. But the reality is much more nuanced. Even if BRICS can't replace the dollar outright, it can still weaken the dollar system at the margins. And margin changes matter, because American life is built on a major hidden advantage. The US gets to live cheaper than it otherwise could because the world demands dollars. Global demand for dollars allows the US to finance deficits at lower cost, sell debt easily, and absorb global capital during crises. If global demand declines gradually, the US faces trade-offs: higher interest rates over time, more expensive borrowing, reduced policy flexibility, pressure on living standards, political conflict over spending. That doesn't mean collapse. It means the easy mode becomes hard mode. And that affects you directly. Let's connect the big global idea to your real life. If the dollar weakens structurally over time, or if global demand for dollar assets decreases, one of the biggest effects is America has to offer higher yields to attract buyers. Higher yields mean higher interest rates. Higher rates mean higher mortgage rates, more expensive car loans, higher credit card interest, higher business borrowing costs, slower job creation, weaker stock market valuations. So the BRICS narrative isn't just geopolitics. It's tied to your ability to buy a home, afford rent, finance a car, and build retirement wealth. This is why Americans should care, Palmond, not because BRICS will replace the dollar, but because global monetary demand affects domestic reality. Here's the real news, stripped of hype. BRICS countries are experimenting with bilateral trade settlements in local currencies, alternative payment rails, gold accumulation strategies, increased non-dollar trade agreements, regional financial systems. This doesn't kill the dollar, but it creates parallel lanes, and parallel lanes reduce monopoly power. It's like streaming platforms. Netflix didn't get replaced overnight, but once alternatives grew, Netflix's dominance faded. That's what the dollar faces long term. Not instant replacement, but slow competition growth. Even the most serious anti-dollar thinkers run into a hard wall. If not the dollar, then what? The euro has structural issues and fragmented fiscal unity. China's yuan lacks free capital movement and trust, and foreign investors worry about state control. Gold is impractical for modern trade volume. Crypto is too volatile and not sovereign stable as a reserve base, so the dollar remains the least bad option. That's why traders laugh. Because finance doesn't run on slogans, it runs on infrastructure, not in the near term, not in the medium term, probably not even in the next couple decades as a full replacement. But can BRICS reduce dollar dependence? Yes, slowly, partially, unevenly, and those partial changes matter because empires don't collapse from one punch. They collapse from a long series of small structural shifts. In the next few years, the biggest signals won't be headlines about a new BRICS currency. The real signals are if more commodity trade shifts to non-dollar settlement slowly, if U.S. Treasury demand softens at auction, requiring higher yields, if global crises stop strengthening the dollar the way they used to, if more countries build systems that bypass dollar settlement. These are slow technical trends, not viral clips, but they shape your future.